Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. And I just want to touch on, a few interesting current events that has, came out over the last, 24 hours. And, I've seen this on, a couple of different social media sites, but haven't really seen, of course, mainstream media pick up on it. And for those that are not aware, last night, Trump posted some, as it says, some cryptic, post on his Truth Social account. As it says here, Trump's cryptic "The end is near" post sends internet into a frenzy. And along with this post, there is another post that he allegedly posted and deleted, which was, when you look at it, very satanic, right? And it appeared to be, some type of blood sacrifice ritual done in, via AI of him. And the fact that you have the president of the United States posting it or reposting it, whatever it is, and he's speaking in some type of, occultic language. I'm going to show it. But the fact that you don't have people, really paying attention to this, right, and calling for explanation on what this means goes to show you that, the mass majority of Babylonians are completely blinded, right? They're in gross darkness, okay, and they don't see the spiritual wickedness that is, has polluted the earth. They don't see, the man of sin. All right, that energy is after the working of Satan. They don't see that this is exactly, what is and who is in the position of authority, the rulership. Okay, and it's not going to be until the consequences, right, the calamities, right, the woes, the sorrows come upon them. That's when they're going to try to, become aware and try to, figure out a means of escape. But it's not going to take place, right? They're not going to find it, because as we get closer and closer to the end, this devil is, becoming more and more unstable. All right. And as we always say, starting with our apostles of Great Millstone, how we believe through the Spirit that Donald Trump is Nero, right? The same spirit that was in Nero is the same spirit that is in Donald J. Trump, coming back in this generation. And when you know about Nero and how, he started to, basically become unhinged and become a tyrant, you seeing the same thing playing out with Trump, right? Because once again, we believe it's that same spirit that's in Trump. Okay, so another thing I found interesting, which I was doing some research on Trump, Nero, the other day, that Nero was the youngest emperor, right? When he became emperor, or Caesar, or if you want to call it, he was the youngest one to take that seat at 16 years old. However, Trump is the oldest elected president. Okay, I believe he was elected president at 78 or 79. I can't, for his second term. I can't remember exactly which one, but he is the oldest elected president. So that's a, interesting dichotomy right there, right, along with other, character traits that they both exhibit. But let's read this here. It says, in a development that quickly fueled online speculation, President Trump posted a video of Frank Sinatra performing his signature hit, My Way, on social media with no accompanying text or explanation. The move came just hours after he convened a high-level meeting in the White House Situation Room to discuss the ongoing standoff with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz. Now, he also was asked, I'm not exactly sure if it was Fox News or some other, news agency, or if he just gave that information. But he, basically said that it's highly unlikely that the ceasefire that is supposed to end on tomorrow, actually, right? Tomorrow night or tomorrow, the 21st, he said it's highly unlikely that it will be renewed. So if the ceasefire isn't renewed, then what comes next? Well, he also made statements about he's going to bomb everything. Okay? Everything is going to be bombed. And as we have been constantly saying, that this war that is currently actively, right, taking place is prophetic. Okay? And it leads to the end of this age, the end of this world. You see, and this is why the Lord has raised up the prophets, okay, in these last days to give warning before it happens, way before the end actually takes place. The Lord was merciful and compassionate, long suffering, by sending his prophets to warn the world, really, but mainly the word is only going to be received by the elect of Israel, right? But the rest of Israel, they heard his word too, and they chose to be willfully ignorant, right? They chose to ignore the warning. So Trump himself, right, the Lord, via his left hand, right, is even putting that vibration out there, giving a warning, telling you, right, the end is near. Okay, because that's what part of the song My Way. He says that, right, the end is near. Okay, reading on, it says the post featured the classic track whose lyrics speak of independence and resolve. While Trump has long used the song at rallies and inaugurals, and even as Air Force One departed at the end of his first term, its sudden appearance amid rising tensions drew immediate attention. So this is what he played. Now, the end is near, and so I face the final curtain, my friend. So I'm not gonna play the whole thing. Like I said, that's it's a very popular old song, pretty good song. I like the song, but once again, a cryptic message, right? Why would he post this? See? So somebody replied, I just woke up to this. Should I laugh or head to a bunker? All right. And this is, the position that the world is in, being blinded, not being able to measure the times diligently, not being able to understand what is, about to take place. They're seeing all of these things, but as it says in the book of, let me pull that up. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, verse 9, Isaiah chapter 6, verse 9, it says, and he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat and make their ears heavy. Right. And this is what we're doing by constantly, watching and observing and reporting, because at this point in time, right, although there are certain prophecies that have yet to be fulfilled, we're in the midst of the fulfillment of all of the prophecies, right? Even the MOTB, right, as we constantly speak about. But we're in the midst of the manifestation, I should say, of the prophecy of the third woe. All right, the valley of Jehoshaphat, Jacob's trouble. Okay, the hour of temptation, the second Ezra's 15th chapter. All right, the civil unrest, the instability, the economic crisis. Right, we're in the midst of all of these things, and this is why I said we're at a point where now we're observing and reporting on it. But through our word, as it says in Isaiah 53, who shall believe our report? Okay, who shall believe our report? Only the elect, only those that were chosen from the foundation of the earth are going to hear these things and take it seriously and make proper preparation. Okay, because you have certain so-called truthers, you have certain people that are watching the news and seeing what's going on, but their mind is carnal. All right, and their way to prepare is by a carnal means, and that is not what is going to save them in this time. All right, and this is why being alive in this truth, having this knowledge and wisdom is the best it's the best gift to have, because the way that we prepare is by doing what the Lord Yahweh Bashim Hawashai has required of us, so that we can make our calling and election short. Right, as Yahweh said, watching and praying that we be found worthy to escape it. So going back to verse 10, it says, make the heart of this people fat and make their ears heavy and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed. And Yahweh Shai quoted this verse, when the disciples asked him, why does he speak to the people in parables? And he said, what? Because it is unto you it is given. Let me pull that up. Right. And that's something that, these churches, these so-called, Christianity pastors, they don't, they don't teach that the mystery of the kingdom of heaven, the knowledge and wisdom, which is going to make you stable, is only given to certain people, right? It's not a gift that any and all people can have. Although the word, does go out throughout the earth, right? The Lord set it up that to where it's only a few is going to receive it. And Yahweh Shai spoke of this himself, right? Matthew 13, verse 9, it says, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Then the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? And he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but unto them it is not given. See? And if it's not given unto them, then it don't matter what you say, right? It don't matter how often or how hard or how much you try. They're not going to receive it. So likewise, when you see certain things like this, right, and you do have people that see it and it raises an eyebrow, they're not able to fully comprehend, right, what the significance of this means in the spirit. All right. And they'll see this and they'll look at it and they'll be like, oh, that's wild. They'll send it to you, so somebody will send it to you and be like, oh, look at this. But it's just a temporary, attention, right? It's a temporary grab. And then afterwards, it's just like, all right, we're just going back. I'm going back to sleep, right? I'm going back to, being ignorant. You see, because as the scripture, not scriptures, but as the saying goes, ignorance is bliss. But that is about to be that proverb, as it says in Ezekiel 12, that is about to cease, right? The Lord is about to make that proverb to cease. Ignorance being bliss. Okay? Because you're not going to be ignorant, which word ignorant means to be unaware. You're not going to be unaware of the fact that, you can't eat. You're not going to be unaware of the fact that things are exponentially expensive. You're not going to be ignorant or unaware of the fact that people are running through each other's neighbors are running through each other's houses because of a lack of bread in great tribulation. See, that's not going to be something that is just oh, I heard of this. That's something that they said could potentially happen. No, it's going to be your reality. And the fact that you have Trump, putting out this cryptic message is something that should raise alarms on the people. But once again, it is not given unto them. Right. So somebody else says Donald Trump posting Frank Sinatra's My Way has to mean something. Right. The end is near. And so I face the final curtain. Is he dying? Is he stepping down? Or is he just trolling us? And Donald Trump is 80 years old. Right. I don't even know if he's actually the one that's posting this. I'm under the assumption, I believe that it's not even him. Right. It's his handlers. Right. It's the ones that are, like I said, the ones that are the policymakers, the ones that, control really the narrative. And he is just a figurehead. You see. But at the end of the day, they are telling people something. Right. They are letting the world, the world know, you Babylonians know that it's about to get, real crazy out here. But yet you have people that are desensitized to it because they're blinded, right? They hear it, but they don't understand it. They see it, right? But they don't perceive it. If I'm saying that, in this correct order. The other thing that he did was this. Now it says, what the F is wrong with him? He posted this before the Sinatra video and deleted it. So this is what he posted before he posted the Sinatra video. Okay, so you really don't even gotta say much when you see something like this. Okay, like I said, the blood, the red aura, it's just straight satanic. And like I said, this would be something that all mainstream media, this should be everybody's main topic. ESPN should be talking about this. Right, First Take. Okay, all of the news outlets should be asking, what in the hell is this about? But once again, people are in gross darkness. All right, and this also is a indicator, right, that these elites who we've seen and we've already know, right, for us that are in the know, we already know what energy they work with, what they work with. Okay, but the Epstein files also has highlighted it even more on a grander scale, who they worship, right, the left hand practices that they are into, you see. But they're doing this and they're making it more overt and they're bringing it out into the forefront, right, because as that letter that Albert Pike wrote, right, there once they bring this third world war and they basically collapse the current world system and order, right, in the things that people are accustomed to thinking is the social norms. It says what? That they were going to introduce Lucifer as the true basically as the true religion, right, as a true God. Okay. So they're now letting the world, at their own way, in their own pace, they're presenting this to the forefront to let the world know Okay, that this is the power and the energy that they come in. Now, you have people, trying to speculate what it was, what he is saying, right? When he's, when you hear it. But regardless, it don't even matter. The imagery says enough. All right. And this is, ultimately why the Lord is coming to take this devil down. When the scripture speaks about Yahweh Shai saying, I seen Satan fall as lightning from heaven, right? When Paul spoke about the Lord will soon bruise Satan under your foot, right? When the scriptures in Revelation speaks about that old serpent, right, which is called the devil and Satan, you can clearly see who the children of the wicked are, who the children of Satan is, right? Who is the physical counterpart of the demonic spirit Satan. And this is why you're going to start seeing, just straight carnage and hell, right, on this earth. Mind you, it's still all under the order of the Lord, as it says in Isaiah, the 45th chapter. He forms the light, he creates darkness, he creates peace and evil. All right, but there is a judgment that is tied to those that love the evil. There is a judgment that will be tied to those that take part on the side of the devil, as it says in Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter. They that do take part hold of his side, right, shall find what? Death. Because this man, this child of Satan, he is death. He is as death, as it says in the book of Habakkuk. Okay, and if you're not spiritually awakened, if you're not, inclined to understand what the will of the Lord is, this is going to be a horrible, horrible time to be, on the earth. No other way to put it. It's going to be a horrible time for a lot of people, right, on the earth, because they are so, they're just so lost, right? Lost in the sauce. And this is why the scripture says here in the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter. And at that time, it says what? The time of the end, right? Frank Sinatra's song that Trump posted, it says what? The end is near. So during the time of the end, right? What is going to be happening? What is going to be needed? Divine intervention, right? Yahweh Shai, he also quoted Daniel. He said it was going to be a time like never before. But let's read it here. It says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Right? What book? The book of life. Okay? But at the time of the end, which that's the time we're in, there's going to be a need for divine intervention. There's going to be a need for the Father, right, through his right arm, to deliver us, to protect us, to provide for us, to be a refuge, for his children, his sons. All right? Because what type of time this devil is coming on is clearly seen that it's never been like that on the earth. When can you say that you've seen the highest office in right? That's what they call the presidency, right? The person in the highest office in the world, really, because America is the top nation on the earth right now. So the president will be in the top seat of the top nation. When have you seen that person overtly, right, show these types of things that he is into, that they're into? And like I said, as it says in Ephesians, why Paul said, wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That was very evident in that video. Okay, that they are working with spiritual wickedness in high places. And that is going to bring in this time of trouble. As such, it was never since there was a nation. See? So, your mind got to be, sober in these times, man. All right, as Peter said. Let's get that. 1 Peter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 7. But the end, well, once again, what Trump posted, Frank Sinatra, the end is near, but the end of all things is at hand. Be therefore sober, right? Serious minded, sound minded. Be circumspect, right? Be attentive, be vigilant. Peter also said that, right? Which vigilant means to give strict attention to. And we live in a time where people's attention spans are cut short because of, the whole doom scrolling and TikToks and Reels and all of these things. People don't even have the capability to paying attention, to things. And this is the time where you need that skill the most, being able to pay attention, not being so easily distracted. Okay, not being overcharged with the surfeiting and the drunkenness and the cares of this life, which are all snares. All right, but it says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be therefore sober and watch unto prayer. All right, you every day, man. All right, and I say that to myself first and foremost, but for all you brothers and sisters that are of the household of faith, you have to continue to pray. Okay, because we're living in some evil times, demonic evil times. And we know ultimately that these days are created, the wicked, the evil is created for the wicked, but you want that hedge of protection over you as all the time, man, wherever you're, over you, your family, your children, okay? Because it's out here and it's only going to become more and more prevalent in society. All right, so Lord willing, I'm gonna close it out with that, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Ruach HaKodash, and until next time, Shalom.
This is Dabu7. We've got Trump launching more threats now in some kind of cryptic here, as he's saying he's not going to extend this offer for peace or for talks any longer, and that bombs are going to fly. It's highly unlikely that the U.S. will extend this ceasefire. They've sent the Marines in now. They've landed on a ship. They give it warnings. And after they give it a warning to get away from the engine hall, they shot it. They are doing this left and right now. They've put up a blockade across the Straits of Hormuz. The U.S. has. So the U.S. now has their warships strung across it, not letting anything come through. If someone tries, they're going to do like they just did with the ship you see on the left, by giving it a warning and then hitting it. And they're saying it's no more Mr. Nice Guy. That the bombs are going to fly at this point. Lots of bombs will go off if there's no deal, is Trump's exact words. We know there's not a whole lot left in terms of targets. You have the power plants, you have the water desalination plants. All of these things will affect the people, the civilian population, big time. He doesn't seem to care about none of it. And he dropped this cryptic tweet or post saying that the end is near. And it's basically a little musical Frank Sinatra singing and performing, the final curtain call, and that the end is near and all this stuff. What it means, no one really knows. If it is pertaining to whatever. There was no clarification on exactly what it meant. But we do know that this blockade is in motion. It looks like there's going to be no ceasefire or no negotiation because Iran is not coming to the table to talk. I expect bombs to fly from here. So, as I said in the latest music video, you better get ready for war. Because at some point, they're bringing it right here to this country full scale. Sooner than later, I would have a plan. Join me for the live streams. Going live Monday, Wednesday,